All right, it's 6:31, so we will call the meeting to order. This is the January 24th, 2022 Park and Rec Commission meeting. We will start with a roll call. So Rebecca, can you please take roll call?
Commissioner Charlie?
Hi, here.
Commissioner Elson?
Here.
Commissioner Koenig?
Here.
Commissioner Miles?
Here.
Commissioner Phipps?
Here.
Commissioner McPherson? Commissioner McPherson? Oh, there you are. Okay. Co-Chair Janowski
Here.
and Co-Chair Brown.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And Rebecca, for number 2, for the urgency action, remind me, do we need to address that since we've been doing it every month, or can we just?
Oh, thank you, Chair Janowski. Yes, because you have not met in the last 30 days, it needs to be addressed at the top of the agenda, because you are allowed to meet by video conference to vote on continuing to meet by video conference. And then if you have another meeting within 30 days or less, I'm not thinking right now, but when the February meeting falls, if it's less than 30 days, it will be on the consent calendar. And if it's more than 30 days, it will be on as an urgency action again.
Okay, wonderful. So do we actually, I apologize for not remembering. Do we actually need to make a motion to approve doing this remotely?
Yes, please.
Okay, so would someone like to make a motion to approve that we meet by teleconference?
I so move.
A second.
Thank you.
Second.
And do we need to take a vote on that as well?
Yes, I'll run through it quickly.
Thanks.
Commissioner Charlie?
Yes.
Commissioner Elson?
Yes.
Commissioner Koenig?
Yes.
Commissioner Miles?
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps?
Yes.
Commissioner McPherson?
Yeah.
Co-Chair Janowski
Yes.
and Co-Chair Brown.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. All right, moving on. We have time for public comment. This will be the time for the public to speak about things that are not on the agenda. I don't see anyone raising their hand on our call. And Rebecca, you checked and said there were no public comments by email. Is that correct?
That's correct. We did not receive any emailed public comments for open time, and I am not seeing any raised hands.
Okay, wonderful. Then we will close public comment and we will move on to presentations. Item 4A, we are starting with an update from the Parks and Rec Master Plan Subcommittee on community engagement meetings. So Alden or Eileen's going to start.
Yeah, I'm going to start. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can go ahead and go to the second slide, please. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, we're going to do an overview of our goals and process so you understand what we've been doing with our master plan process. The goal of the master plan process is to develop a process to identify community priorities for enhancing infrastructure, facilities, and programs for the next 3 to 10 years. This will be our guide for the investment of resources towards budget and staff time. The existing infrastructure managed by Park and Rec Department includes parks, playgrounds, tennis courts, basketball court, skate park, baseball and softball fields, a sand volleyball court, soccer fields, and a dog park. Other amenities that are included are the picnic and barbecue facilities and a gazebo used for events and music concerts. Also, the community center, where the town hosts town-sponsored events are hosted, both seasonal and annual, as well as private events such as weddings and more. Existing enrichment programming is offered for all ages and abilities, including before and after school programs and summer camp programming for youth. As Corte Madera plans for the future, town staff is committed to a culture of inclusivity, supporting residents as they pursue their passions, explore new hobbies, connect with others no matter their age or abilities. Next slide, please. Okay, the last community needs assessment was conducted in 2006 as part of a 2007 Town Park and Community Center Master Plan. The latest survey was mailed to all residents in May of 2021, with 685 households responding, providing a statistically valid sample. Results were shared at the Park and Recreation Commission on October 25th of 2021 and are available on the Corte Madera town website. Following analysis of the results, the Park and Rec Director and the Master Plan Subcommittee conducted 4 community engagement meetings, 2 with small focus groups in November and December, and 2 meetings open to the general public earlier this month in January. The purpose of the meetings was to gain additional feedback regarding priorities identified in the survey and to gauge community support for how to prioritize town resources. For projects such as park, restrooms, indoor programming space, and to assess community interest in artificial turf and a community swimming pool, which have been shown to be priorities in recent years. Participants were also given an opportunity to share their suggestions for projects, programs, events, and other improvements. Next slide, please. So engagement began with 2 focus group meetings. These were to refine the content for the 2 larger public meetings. Focus groups were held on Tuesday, November 30th, and Thursday, November 12th. 8 participants and 10 participants respectively. These numbers don't include town staff and commissioners who were also present. So these totals are only town citizens. This discussions included outdoor facilities, park restrooms, artificial turf, community swimming pool, and in the small focus groups only were the town park plaza and fitness court were discussed. Also topics included the indoor facilities, of which are the community center and the Park Madera Center, and then of course programming. Next slide.
Benny? I'm going to take us through some of the highlights of these discussions across the 4 meetings, starting with the park restrooms. We set a context for those participating in the meetings about addressing the needs for improved restroom facilities in the parks is a top priority for both town staff and town council. Currently, there are basic temporary amenities in Town Park, Granada Park, and Minky Park, and 1 permanent facility on the west side of Town Park. Discussion was focused on Town Park having the greatest immediate need. We asked the group, we would like your feedback on whether town staff should spend time researching to replace the blue porta potties with upgraded units, recognizing that monthly fees will also increase, or keep the existing units while staff focuses on developing plans to install permanent facilities. There was overwhelming interest in pursuing permanent restrooms to replace the existing rentals. New locations suggested favoring a location that would serve users on the east side of the park. This map here shows the locations discussed as well as current facilities. Requests were also made for permanent restrooms at Minky Park, Old Town Square. The next, another key topic was artificial turf. To set the context, artificial turf has been discussed at Town Park for a number of years. More recently, the Larkspur Corte Madera School District has expressed interest in working with the town to evaluate installation of artificial turf fields both at Town Park and Cove Park, where portions of both fields are operated under a shared use agreement. The prompt for the groups, we've heard from some members of the community about possible benefits and concerns. Benefit of artificial turf include year-round use, reduced water use, lower maintenance costs, and concerns include reduction of natural green space, heat absorption, and concerns over synthetic material. Please share why you support or do not support the installation of artificial turf in one of our parks. We had a passionate group of current field users to support the use of artificial turf. And the key reasons for support for them was year-round field use, quality of playing service, a revenue stream for the town, reduced water usage, and player safety. There were also key reasons against, which focused on the loss of natural green space, maintenance costs for the town, and environmental concerns. Locations requested in Town Park, primarily the East Field, as well as, and in addition to, the Cove Park. This was a particular topic that had strong feelings on both sides. The swimming pool. A swimming pool would greatly be a significant investment to build and maintain. We would like to include a use fee and fees for classrooms and special programs as a top priority of the most recent community needs assessment. We would like to gain more insight into how the community would use a pool and what features would be most important. How would households use a facility? When, and preference of indoor or outdoor pool and other additional features that may be requested. We also followed up on regarding knowledge and use of the pool at Redwood High School during the summer of 2021. There was a strong preference for an outdoor pool over an indoor one among the participants. The top usage reasons in order were learn to swim, exercise, and recreate. Additional amenities suggested around the pool included this splash pad, toddler area, diving board, seating, umbrellas, picnic tables, and grass. There was little interest in losing town green space to create a pool. And while it was a top survey result, there were few passionate for pool participants in the meetings. And then touching very quickly on two topics that were in the focus group that did not get enough interest in the focus group to make it to the public meetings. The first was a fitness court. There was a low response rate for personal usage, concerns around safety, vandalism, and a preference to put similar fitness equipment along trails rather than dedicated court. But again, in the focus group, there was such little interest, we did not bring this to the public meeting. Similarly, we discussed in the focus group renovating the Town Park Plaza. The majority of the participants were not in favor of updating the plaza, with their key concerns being safety and level of investment versus return. Emily.
All right. So similarly, we had some good discussion regarding indoor facilities. And for context, as we all know, the indoor facilities are vital to the services and programs that the department offers. And while the community center indeed is well suited as it is for events and large groups, and by large, you mean over 250 people, there is limited capacity for smaller events. There's no classroom or other place to operate recreational classes and smaller group meetings. So what we asked the participants was to help us understand their preference to pursue either renovating the community center or acquiring space at the Corte Madera Center as leases expire. And as one might imagine, respondents were both for and against renovating the existing community center. Some key reasons in support of renovation were more classroom space and more event space. In contrast to reasons to be against or lack of support were the expense and the lack of community members specifically asking for renovations. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So the last topic that we discussed was regarding programming and events. And again, for context, the community expressed an interest in a large range of events and programs through the survey, which was great to hear. Top responses were weekly food truck events, some outdoor concerts, performing arts, cultural events, and even a local history walk and talks. So the participants here were prompted by asking, what do you feel is missing from the above list of things I just mentioned? And how frequently do you think you might attend these types of events? And as you'll see, the responses sort of ranged between additional event suggestions, some of them catering to senior programming, coffee mornings, Menke Park events, climate change talks, cultural heritage events, and Battle of the Bands. And then there was strong interest in combining food trucks with other events, some that I just mentioned, or outdoor concerts and performing arts, in particular music-related events. The participants estimated attending food truck events monthly and cultural events probably around once or twice a year. So right now then, Park and Rec actions moving forward, the staff is in the process of adding events and programming to address top responses. So for example, movie night events are planned for July and August of 2022, and those will include food and other activities. There's an art exhibition was introduced in 2021. It's going to be expanded upon in 2022. And then staff has expressed their sort of eagerness to add additional cultural events and music events, of course, as the pandemic concerns recede or shift in a way that makes that safe. Slide, please. So finally, to be sure, our evaluation and efforts will continue. So while additional ideas were shared during the meetings, they were captured. Just because we haven't presented them here doesn't mean that they aren't on our radar. And of course, they'll be considered as part of the master planning process. This is just a summary. Speaking of the summary, staff is currently working to get the feedback from the sessions, which were recorded, published so that the public can review them rather than rely upon the summary. In February, Parks and Rec Commission is set to present a summary of this to the town council. And in light of what seems to be a very clear mandate with respect to the park bathrooms, we'll be making an urgent request for budget for that purpose. And then finally, in March and April, we'll be requesting budgetary support for the identified priorities from town council.
Okay, thank you. That was really, really helpful, all of you. Nice job putting that summary together. Do we want to open it up for questions now from the commission? Or questions and comments?
Even though I just spoke, I have one extra comment. That was Alden. Alden did the majority of the work on that, and we're all really appreciative because it's much easier to edit than to create. So Alden, hats off to you.
Thank you, Alden.
Any other comments from anyone else?
I'll just add that, I listened in on one of the larger group areas that it was really great to hear people so engaged in the community expressing their desires, and people obviously have hugely varied priorities, but I think the format was really good. And my sense and also feedback afterwards that people felt heard. And I think that's a real accomplishment for the commission. So well done for the organizing.
Yeah, I agree, Shannon. That's a great point. I was on one of the focus groups, and then I was on the Friday night community engagement, and I agree. I mean, I really appreciated everyone, all the residents expressing their opinions. I mean, there was definitely not consensus on things, but it was respectful, and I thought people were thoughtful in their responses. So I agree. That was a good process. All right. If that's it for now, we will move to item 4B, which is Ashley giving us a presentation of the annual programming report.
Oh, wait, Chair Janowski, we need to take public comment
Oh,
on the first
sorry. Okay.
presentation first.
I apologize.
I was just going to break in to say that I did not see any emailed public comment, but I'm going to check one more time.
Okay. Thank you for keeping me on track here.
No, we did not receive any emailed public comment on this presentation.
Okay. Thanks, Rebecca. I appreciate that. And now, Miss Ashley Howe.
Oh, but there was a raised hand. Sorry.
I'm really blowing it today. I do not see a raised hand on my screen.
I have a raised hand from David McPherson, and I will click on his name.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, David.
Thank you. This will only take a second. I agree with the last comments about the town's outreach in general, Parks and Recreation in particular. I think people really do feel heard. I think the questionnaire was excellent, and my own viewing of the town meetings by Zoom gave me the real sense that this is going to set a blueprint for the next 10 years and help staff set priorities in terms of budget. And I appreciate all the effort that the commissioners are doing to make sure that the town is heard. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, David. Appreciate that.
Don't see any other raised hands here.
Oh, I'm not seeing any
Great.
additional raised hands.
Okay. I think we're safe to move on
Yes.
to item 4B.
Thank you.
Screen out here. Can you see my presentation outline? Yeah. All right, well, thank you for bearing with us. This is going to be our presentation evening, so not a lot of engagement to talking about all of our community engagement, but I think really exciting steps that we've made. And building the annual program report takes a lot of time, and I never feel like I'm ever going to be finished because there's always more things that I want to share, but I really enjoy going through the photos. I go through our Facebook photos and look at all the different ways we've engaged, and that's kind of how I take some of the programs and posts and activities and ways we've communicated with the community and kind of summarize it. So it's really fun. It's kind of nostalgic, but I'm really proud of what we've accomplished this year. So I look forward to sharing with you tonight. Okay, so first from 2021, our department goals and priorities were communication, programs and services, and planning. Communication included our social media, and that was to continue to make the professional and engaging posts via Facebook, Instagram, and Nextdoor, and the introduction of our department YouTube channel in January 2021, and we have plans for continued development this year. Digital news. Continue to provide digital content for the town and school newsletters, and always provide a digital option for an activity guide once we begin to print them again, which our next issue for summer will be printed, and it'll be the return to the printed guide. And the introduction of the school menus for after school classes, which I will show you when we get to the class section. Website. There is never a perfect website, and it's always in constant change based on what our topics and areas we want to focus and respond to with our community. But we want to strive to continue to make improvements to the Park and Recreation page, the layout and function, continue to update the page content to improve our user experience. If you haven't checked out the childcare section, please check out the Corte Madera Children's Center page. They've got parents' corners and all kinds of information. So even if you're not interested in their services, it's really great to see the creativity of the staff and the information they're sharing with the community. RecPro, which is our registration software, customized blank screens and anything else that improves customer experience. And this is also, again, going to be a work in progress. But one of the big feedbacks that we've had from engaging with our community when we've talked about how to register for programs or classes or events is that they have a lot of user error because they would go to a blank screen. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of this slide this is the updated page. So we've got scrolling pictures of our classes. We've got the header that matches what the old town site looked like. So there's a lot more connectivity and hopefully a lot more opportunities to improve our user experience. Relationships, we want to continue and strengthen the relationships with our school districts, community groups, and Corte Madera Library and Larkspur Recreation. And we do that through engaging collaboration. So whether it be on reading session with the library, whether it be with activities or programs with Larkspur Recreation, and definitely direct communication with our school districts. We have classes on site at both elementary schools, and we also are looking for this summer to host 2 movie nights, one at Cove and one at Town Park. So we work closely with our school district, and we appreciate the relationships that we've built to date there. Employee engagement and training. Continue to implement new file storage tree for electronic files that we share in what we call our P drive, and a scheduled annual review and audit. Make sure that we don't keep things that we don't need to, and it's easy for everyone to use. Makes it a lot easier for us to work together, especially when some of us have to work in remote settings or off and on based on COVID statuses this year. We're doing the best to stay connected, and as long as we can have our files organized, we can all access those remotely thanks to our wonderful IT setups. Encouraging our team to seek out education and training opportunities. It's really hard this year and last year to get out and do physical trainings, but there's been a lot of virtual trainings offered through the California Parks and Recreation Society, and engagement through local groups within that to really connect ourselves with our neighboring agencies as well as agencies from across the state.
If we can get connected to new ideas, or at least know that we have, strength in numbers of, what's working, what's not working, at least it makes us feel that we've got additional resources. Encouraging the team to engage with professionals through the association and seek leadership opportunities. There's a number of those training sessions that are offered remotely and through roundtable sessions. So really trying to empower our team to take the step to take leadership opportunities. And in 2022, we do have one staff member on our team that is running for a board position on our local agency. So we're rooting for him. Encouraging our team to consider developing more, taking more role in developing our organizational chart. We've had a lot of changes through our staff in the last year and a half. We've had some opportunities to add staff. We have a second recreation coordinator position this year. So we were able to promote Perry from being an intern to a recreation assistant to our coordinator. Now she's taking on facility rentals and senior programming. When we have 2 open recruitments for facility attendant 1 and 2, which we have part-time positions and 1 full-time position. And that will enable us to have the flexibility of being open more hours, having our lobby and restrooms open, being able to service special events and rentals once we're able to host those large gatherings again. Really trying to gear up and making sure that our staffing levels are going to be able to meet the needs and expectations of the community. We're going to be in the process of developing two job descriptions to match 2 positions that we have in our salary schedule. So those will be going to the council for review on February 1st. But once we have those 2 descriptions available, so that's recreation assistant and recreation aide, then we can recruit for those positions as well, which will service our customer service staff as well as our recreation activities for youth. And moving into programs and services. So I'll kind of pause here for a few minutes. These are some of our classes, the variety of not only the marketing that Christina's put together for advertising these classes, but then some of just candid shots from the classes themselves. We're really proud of the quality and the variety of classes that we are offering. We focus on quality over quantity. We really want to make sure that we're selecting the right instructors, providing the right content, and really meeting the needs of the community. If a class isn't going to be popular, then we don't want to spend a lot of time marketing and working with instructor for multiple sessions. We want to make sure that we're finding something that's going to be the next it thing or popular. We want to really make sure that not only are we providing these really great after school and weekend classes for kids, but we also added having a lot more programming. I think we've got 30 extra classes on site at the elementary schools in spring alone. And that goes for classes that are offered at the Cove and at Neil Cummins. And those are those 2 different digital and printed menus on the right-hand side that we sent out to schools. So with the school district support and our collaboration and partnership we've worked with them is that 2 to 3 times a year, they're going to allow us to send that collateral home in backpacks with kids. So that's a great way to not only market our programming, but it's an opportunity for us to serve kids on their school site. So when parents drop off their kids, they know they're going to go to class, and then they've got some enrichment activities they can do on site after school, and then the parents can pick them up from school again. It makes it a little bit more streamlined for those parents that are able to do that. After school classes, we've expanded the number of classes offering at both Neil Cummins and at the Cove, and we've introduced the marketing menus, and we've also gained exclusive use of the F1 and F2 portables at the Neil Cummins campus so that we can run our classes in those 2 rooms rather than using multiple classes around the school campus, which would displace some teachers towards the end of the day. So we've really reached a great collaboration with Neil Cummins specifically with that. Programs are priorities on safety, quality, and efficiency. And some of the in-house programs that we run, we had the school year program, which was originally Camp 2020 that turned into an all-year school year that rolled into Summer Camp 2021, which then officially broke off into Corte Madera Children's Center on August of 2021. And a few highlights about that program is that staff set up and used the specialized registration module for childcare. So they developed a whole background within our registration system for parents to be able to register on the 20th of each month for the next month. And so far, we're getting great feedback from that. To date, there are 73 families enrolled in the program with an average of 18 children at kindergarten dismissal and a total of 54 children a day after school. Current revenue for the program is at $161,000, which exceeded the amount originally budgeted for revenue for the first fiscal year by $23,000. And let's see, we're really proud of all of our staff that's over there. We've got Alex and Alex in the middle with the balloons. That's a picture from Penny Carnival, which is one of their favorite activities during summer camp. But these two women have stepped up and they've just really created this program with the direction of Rochelle, who was our interim director and now our contractor. She's got 30 plus years of experience in childcare, and these ladies have tapped into all of her knowledge and they're going with it, and they are doing an amazing job. Programs and services, programming for active older adults. We're really excited about a lot of different classes that we have that are directly for adults in general. They can be our traditional seniors, or they can be our just adults in general. We've got over on the left-hand side of Carol Butler. She does all kinds of dance for both adults and youth. That's her outdoors adult tap class. We've got Perry in the corner making senior calls, which have now tapered off. Between Perry, Nancy, and Christina, they've been making those calls since the beginning of COVID in March of 2020. And now we're kind of receding and just checking in every month or two, because mostly we get to see some of those high contact people during the congregate meals, which is the grab and go in the bottom right-hand corner. And that's a weekly service we do on Wednesdays. And we have about 40 people that participate in that, which is our capacity through Marin County. And we are working on making sure we're ready, that once the county supports in-person congregate meals, that we are ready to partner with them. But until then, we've gone through 2 different food suppliers through the county, and we really look forward to seeing the different participants who are able to either walk up and pick up their meal or drive through. And if anybody wants to stop by and hand out meals, you're welcome to do so too. In the middle, we have our senior book and puzzle exchange and swap. We had an overwhelming support from the community for donations, to the point that once we were able to open up in person, we needed to start doing more of the giving away than the collecting. But we will retain at least one bookshelf for books and puzzles, because we really had a lot of people come in and just stop by during the open hours that really enjoyed just checking out what was new or just kind of saying hello. So it's something we'll keep in a small way, but we ended up with rooms full of books. So it was a lot of work, but it was fun. And in the upper right-hand corner, we partnered with Cheryl Longinati and her pedicab Gertrude for seniors to have guided Christmas light tours. And because of weather, it was a little hard for them, but next year we're going to combine efforts with Julie from the Chamber, and we're going to make a lighted tour map and reach out to neighborhoods that we know do a fantastic job in light displays and kind of make something a little bit more organized. So it was a great first year to relaunch Gertrude, and thank you for Cheryl for contributing her time for that. Programs for adults with developmental disabilities. This is supervised by our recreation coordinator, Erin, and she has been working with this group for a very long time, and coordinating volunteers, coordinating in-person and virtual. They've got a number of different activities they've been doing throughout the pandemic. And those include the third Friday dances, which have all still continued to be on Zoom. You can see the picture of the Christmas Zoom there, and everybody's invited. So you don't have to be someone that is engaged with an adult that has developmental disabilities, and everybody's welcome. My daughter's featured there on the bottom right-hand corner because she was invited to talk to Santa, because during their Santa dance, they actually have breakout rooms, which they bring different participants into a separate room with Santa, and they get to Zoom with Santa and talk to him. And it was the best thing. It made her day. She wanted to get back on the Zoom with Santa the next night, and I had to explain that Santa was busy Zooming with other people. But Erin really just thinks of these really creative ways to brighten the days of all of these people, as well as the volunteers. She's got a lot of teen volunteers that just hop on, dance, get all decked out. Or in the bottom left-hand corner, there's their sports night, and they did sports in the patio and out in the town park. In the middle is a dinner they planned for 35 at Celia's for the holidays. And then the last picture there is the movie night. They rented a movie theater for 25 people so they could safely distance and they could see people, they could do elbow bumps. And Erin said, you know, at the end of the day, going to a movie is maybe not necessarily the top thing on her list for that particular movie, but seeing the smiles on her customers' faces is what makes all of it worth it. And she had all of those smiles plus everybody that they connected with. So thank you to Erin for all of her work, and to Beth and to everybody that volunteers with that group. All right, moving into programs, our priority is on safety, quality, and efficiency. 3 of our main programs to highlight, of course, is Corte Madera FC, our soccer program. You can see some of those pictures on the right-hand side, and one of them was used for our summer activity guide. Find my notes to highlight all of their successes this year. During COVID shutdown, the lighter than usual season for 2020 for Corte Madera FC, but 2021 season brought an uptick in the amount of youth participation in both the programs for recreation soccer and competitive leagues. And the revenue projected for the fiscal year was $287,000. And as of today, the programs brought in $563,000. They also brought in addition to continuing their annual spring clinics, they initiated summer camps. They had a couple of weeks of summer camps that were focused on either strikers or goalkeeping, and just really unique things that kind of kept soccer, those dedicated Corte Madera FC players involved between the spring clinics and then launching into tryouts for the fall season. Typically, they didn't do a whole lot in the summer, so it was nice to see them on the field during summer for those couple weeks. Let's see. And then our annual, our adult softball, we did not offer a softball program in 2020. There was a lot of changing guidelines, and there was a lot of protocols in place for how they could play, what they could do for registration, how they had to bat, all kinds of different things that we didn't have the staffing levels to support in 2020. And moving into 2021, we reached out to the Ranch, who is our neighboring recreation department for Belvedere Tiburon. They took over the operations of the softball leagues in San Rafael. And so we knew that they were equipped with all the policies and protocols in place to run safe leagues. And therefore we reached out to them to run our over 40s and over 50s leagues. And the main priority is that we didn't want to have another season of not having our local players play on Town Park. And Maureen from the Ranch jumped in with the collaboration of a couple other of our staff. And they ran those leagues. They had a great time, and we're looking to them to hopefully run again this season while we take on some other programming priorities, and then possibly take the league back under our supervision for the following year. And then tennis keys. Our annual tennis key sales to our courts for pickleball and tennis. In 2021, we sold 337 keys. And only 4 of those were bought by, or only 67 of those were bought by non-Corte Madera residents. So that's something that we really want to communicate. Sometimes the negative feedback as far as people arriving on the courts, the first come, first serve use is, oh, non-residents are out there. You shouldn't sell keys to non-residents. And we agree that residents, we'd love to give the residents priority. And we feel that we do in reflection of the 337 keys total, and only 67 of those are for non-residents. So we appreciate the use of these courts at Granada Park and Town Park. And we're really looking forward to engaging those tennis players and pickleball players. We've gotten a lot of great feedback through the community engagement sessions on how we can continue to enhance their participation and engagement on those facilities. All right, events, activities, and art exhibitions. Some of the creative ways that we've had events and activities safely in 2021 is Erin reached out for the Great Leprechaun Search in Town Park. She reached out and called Dublin, Ireland, and went to an extreme lengths to research some really cool facts and activities and Zoom links and audio connections, and made little hotspots in the park, so that kids could start at one of the little hotspots they found with like shoes hanging from a tree, and they could listen to like the Blarney Stone, and they could climb, different things, and they could do little dances, and they learned little things about Ireland and the history of St. Patrick's Day. And I thought it was a really super creative way. And these are some of our four kids that went out there, and they got special sashes and things that Erin made them. And I thought that was just a really great idea, just something different. It got kids out into our parks. Art exhibitions. We had the two art exhibitions in 2021. First in March, we had a virtual exhibition with the California Watercolor Association. And we had yielded commissions from 2 art sales during that. And then in December, we hosted the Corte Madera Directors Invitational exhibition of mixed media. And we were able to host 2 in-person receptions, one for opening and one for closing. Closing even had a live music. The Lions supported us by having a bar for donations at both events. And we had the room decked out thanks to Tim and our staff. And it was really great to have the community back in our home. It was bringing the community back into the place that they cherish, and having art and music and refreshments, and just being able to see people in person was really great. And we were able to also open during the week for people to drop in during the middle of the day and check out the art exhibition. And during the course of a week and a half, we probably had close to 100 people kind of stop by and just check things out. So it was really great. And for us, we was able for us internally to figure out what kind of display systems we might want to use, what are the ins and outs and tricks of setting things up, and being able to really kind of use this as our first trial and really expand those services and offerings for 2022. And we were able to rent the setups that you can see in the middle of the screen from the Marinwood Community Service District, and invite some of their artists as well. And all the artists that were invited, I had worked with either in the past through the Falkirk Cultural Center, or Michael Friedland, who is our art instructor for watercolor and also a member of the California Watercolor Association, reached out to his local artists as well. So everybody that showed was from the Bay Area. Most people were from Marin County. And then over on the left-hand side was one of our activities for Mother's Day, which was this amazing brunch. And hopefully we'll be able to have something like that going forward. Hopefully next year we could have something in person. It was delightful. So just kind of coming with different creative things during the year that we can do that's different each year. Planning, emergency planning. This year's theme for emergency planning, the county reached out to all of our neighboring jurisdictions through Parks and Recreation in the towns and cities, as well as the school districts, to identify shelter planning management. And we also did site preparations and site visits. So when they came out, they assessed our site for what capacities that we had. We were able to give over all of our evacuation routes and areas for all of our outlets that Perry had developed last year as part of the planning exercise for potential blackouts and rolling blackouts again. And it was nice to be able to work with the different agencies, the county with Red Cross, and having them all look at our building in a different way and how we would best be able to serve the community, and our proximity also to the Neil Cummins campus and the gym, and really how we can all work together to provide for the communities should there be an emergency evacuation need. The master plan, obviously we just heard about all of the amazing master plan engagement that we've had. Just to recap, is that we had the survey that went out and was mailed. That's up in the right hand corner. That was mailed to residents in May, and it was administered digitally by email link to non-residents. And then we had the focus groups, 2 focus groups that were invitational to members of community groups, to school district representation, to community organizations. We tried to make sure that a lot of demographics were covered, and we had 2 of those work groups, and those were on November 30th and December 9th. And then obviously we had the Join the Conversation public meetings in January 7th and in January 8th. Facilities, during the downtime, we also took the opportunity to make some facility updates, general maintenance that we needed, filters cleaning. You can see the building right there. We had the installation of the solar panels at the end of the year. Agreements is that we had the first Twin Cities Little League agreement for use. So it really outlined for 2021 what our relationship is between the town and the group, expectations, responsibilities. It's really trying to step in the right direction of making sure we have clear communication and partnerships with the groups that utilize our facilities. And then going forward, we'll be continuing to work on those agreements. Policies and procedures, we were able to accomplish a number of policies and procedure updates. With COVID, of course, those changed a few different times based on what status we are in. So that's again a work in progress. But really revitalizing our forms that we utilize, making sure that we are looking at it from a lens of our participants. So how easy is it for somebody that's walking in that wants to rent a park or a picnic area or the facility, and really making sure that we not only have easy forms that are able to be completed, but that they're comprehensive. Staff gets what they need off of those forms. We have all the requirements backed up and proofread and run through our legal department to make sure that all of our liability waivers are updated and current, and minimizing any potential risks to either parties. It's kind of a general audit that we feel that we should have at least once a year, closing out the year of one set of forms and making any updates that we need to go forward. But this last 2 years has been a big overhaul on some of those documents. And then staffing. Again, we added one full-time rec coordinator position with Perry. We've got a couple of open positions with facility attendant, and coming soon will be our recreation assistant for our customer service. Thank you to our Parks and Recreation team. You continue to demonstrate versatility, resilience, and positivity in the wake of constant change. I celebrate each of our successes and look forward to seeing what we can accomplish next. And our 2022 department goals, just a rough outline, and we're going to be developing this continuously, is communication, programs and services, and planning, just as we outlined the areas for 2021. But in the February Parks and Recreation Committee, I'll provide an update on our department work plan and progress, and the steps to implement ideas and priorities that have been identified through our community engagement process. And I'd really like to come back every few meetings just to give you an update of what we've done to hear our community, respond, and hopefully meet those needs. So now I open it up for questions from our commission or comments.
That was great. I have to say, it's so fun to see pictures and to recognize people from the community there.
Actually, it's exciting to see so much positive participation throughout the community, and kind of the number of, kind of in light of everything that's been going on, the amount of engagement we've been getting, both for the in-person and not. Given some of the kind of unexpected successes we've had, how is that impacting how we think about whether it's fees or reinvestments of kind of those better than expected revenue drivers?
You know, I think we're very pleasantly surprised, especially with the budget check-in on our childcare program. Obviously, when Rochelle developed it, she was really trying to make sure that it was a conservative budget and conservative projection for revenue. And obviously, with revenue increases also come expenses. We do need to have staff that support that. So we're just really happy, and being able to revise the budget, and really Rochelle is going through each section of the budget and really working with Daria, who is our finance director, to build out the budgets that our staff that are overseeing these sections can really understand and dive into, so that going forward, not only is our budget process going to be a lot more accurate and easier to predict and evaluate, but it's really going to help our staff develop, because for Parks and Recreation, in my opinion and experience, we're here to make things fun and engage people and make sure they're having safe, positive experiences. But we're usually not the people that are the number crunchers. That's not usually our strength. Your strength is usually like the fun activities. So to being able to add that experience of balance for our staff is a really good staff development tool. So we're using that as that kind of positive twist on that. So again, with soccer, they've really realized this last year how much their staff works and the time that they put in. And I think for them, they're very happy with the success and the revenue for the participation. But again, on the other side, they do have the trainer expenses. So there's expenses with that, but I think they might need to raise their prices, which is why we didn't include it in the proposal for the master fee schedule. We wanted to have one more year to evaluate it before we put them into the fee schedule for next year.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
I just want to say that I really like the way that you're communicating on so many different levels and platforms, that you're keeping paper, but you're using social media and, you know, all different ways to communicate to the town. So thank you for being so creative with that.
Yeah, we're looking for, we were happy to see in the survey results come back from master plan engagement that people wanted the activity guide, that was like one of their #1 ways to receive information, because we're ready to reprint it and we've got a lot of really great stuff to advertise for summer. So look for that at the end of March.
Any other questions before we open it for public comment? And then we can go back and finish up with any more discussion on the commissions. Actually, I don't see any public comment or anyone raising their hand. Do you see anything that came in, Rebecca?
Let me just double check the emailed public comment one more time.
Oh, I do.
We have
There is
one
one
hand
raised
raised.
hand.
There is a raised hand now. That is correct. It is a phone number. If you are calling in by phone, can you are able to unmute yourself now?
Hi, my name is
Hello.
Clark Miller. I was trying to actually unmute unsuccessfully on the last item, 4A. So I don't have anything on 4B, although that was a wonderful presentation, but I had a question on 4A if it's not too late.
We can reopen public comment. That's okay. Just if that's okay with the co-chair.
Yes, that's fine. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you. My question is, I wanted to reiterate that I thought it was a fantastic process that you guys ran for getting public engagement on various master plan options. And I just wanted to better understand what next steps might look like. And I am calling on behalf of the Corte Madera Football Club, and we were some of the passionate ones with interest in the turf field. And I wanted to see if there were any things that we might be able to do to assist in your process.
I think as of right now, we're providing the summaries of all the community engagement to the Parks and Recreation Commission and community that listening or watching later, and then also presentation to the council on February 1st to gain their feedback and comments. And that's going to help us refine the conversation of what our priorities are. But I think in the meantime, I've asked some of our representation at Corte Madera FC to give me personally some feedback on fields that they really like, why, fields they don't like, why, so that if we go forward on developing concepts and then later conversations of where and everything else, because I know that that's also a very very important priority of discussion through our community engagement, some of the feedback that I've received. But really you are a personal user of a lot of fields, especially when you go to tournaments and competition play. And so we really value your insight on those. And I think I've talked to both Sarah and to Frank on that.
Terrific. Okay, we can certainly help in that effort. That sounds like a great idea.
Thank you.
Thanks for your feedback.
Okay, thank you very much.
Continuing on with the public comment.
I think there's
David
one-
McPherson has a hand up.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Go ahead, David.
So consistent with the last caller, I know that the master plan is going to be presented to the town council in February, I think. And I'm wondering what members of the public can do and prepare for in terms of supporting the commission and the master plan at the town council meeting.
I think since it won't be a public comment because it'll be a presentation on February 1st, if you have comments that you'd like to add following a presentation such as one that I just gave or one that the master plan subcommittee just gave to advocate for your side, that would be probably the most constructive way to support the commission. In my opinion, Chair Janowski, if you'd like to elaborate.
No, that makes sense to me. That seems reasonable.
And just for clarification, I might add that we're not presenting the final master plan recommendations at council. That's just catching the council up with the process to date. So there is work yet to be done to identify the priorities for investment above and beyond the request we're making for immediate budget support for bathrooms.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Co-Chair Brown.
Yes, that was my understanding as well, that this was just an update to council on the process to date, and then opportunities for further engagement with the community. And also staff will be uploading all of the workshops to the website for viewing between now and whatever point the commission finishes its work on the plan and then presents it finally to council for, would it be acceptance? I'm not sure what the correct term is on that, but we're still in the middle of the process, correct?
Yes.
Thanks, Rebecca. And has any email come in for public comment?
No, there were no emailed public comments received on either of the presentation items.
Okay, perfect.
And no
So-
additional hands raised at this time.
Wonderful. So we will close public comment and open it back up for the commission for any final comments or any discussion for Ashley on her presentation. Ashley, I just want to say I'm so impressed. I mean, a couple of things. This is, I think, my 6th year. And one thing I'm so impressed with is the way you develop your staff and really empower them. I feel like what's the product and the work that's coming out of your department is so much broader and more positive and just dynamic than it's been. And I think that's just because you're really encouraging people to, take ownership of things and be creative. And just, I'm really impressed with how you're managing that process. And partnering with the schools. I mean, it's clear that that's just having a big, positive benefit for everyone in the town. So thank you very much for your creative, collaboration.
I would 100% echo that. I think particularly in the face of the challenges that we've had, the fact that the programs are growing, the diversity of programs has continued to expand, the way in which you're communicating, the engagement that your staff has with the community. It's so impressive. I love this part of the year to do that look back and see everything that Parks and Rec has done to make this community as cherished and as close and as vibrant as it is. So kudos to the entire staff. It's incredibly powerful and rewarding, impressive, and inspiring. Thank you.
Definitely. You're so right, Louise.
Couldn't do without our team. We have so many unique individual qualities and connections with our community. So, I rely heavily on them, and they're the ones doing all the work. I'm just polishing all the pictures.
Well, it's great teamwork. So thank you for that. So we will move on to number 5, the consent calendar. And the only thing we need to do is approve the minutes from the December 6th special commission meeting. Did everyone, have a chance to read the minutes? And if so, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
And a second? That was Emily C. for a second?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Let's see, Rebecca, do we need to do a roll call?
Commissioner Charlie,
Yes.
Commissioner Elson,
Yes.
Commissioner Koenig,
Yes.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Commissioner McPherson, Commissioner McPherson, Co-Chair Janowski,
Yes.
and Co-Chair Brown.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, moving on to business items. Number 6A, discussion and possible action to set commission meeting calendar for 2022. Ashley included a staff report that, as per our normal course of calendaring every year, we generally do a combination of the November and December meetings because of holiday schedule. So I assume everyone had a chance to read the staff report, but staff is recommending that we cancel the November 28th meeting and the December 6th, and instead schedule a special meeting on December 5th. So this is our standard practice. If anyone has comments, otherwise we can just take a vote on that.
I move we vote on that.
It works for me. That's around the holidays. It just seems to work a lot better to combine those meetings. So that would be my recommendation as well. So do we need a second can I second?
I second.
Okay, wonderful. Rebecca, roll call.
Commissioner Charlie,
Yes.
Commissioner Elson,
Yes.
Commissioner Koenig,
Yes.
Commissioner Miles,
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Commissioner McPherson,
Yes.
Co-Chair Janowski,
Yes.
and Co-Chair Brown.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. And moving on to number 7, staff update and commissioner reports. Ashley, I hate to make you talk again after your other presentation, but you are up with your director update.
No problem. This will be a lot faster than the last presentations. Update for active older adult programming and activities. We've got the addition of chair yoga, seniors in balance, the continuation of the grab and go congregate meals, Corte Madera Children's Center is gearing up for a busy February. They have care for early dismissal week as well as ski week. After school enrichment classes, we had a number of classes start last week and this week. So if you haven't registered for classes, or if you have and you forgot when they started, it was probably last week or this week. Staff recruitment, open positions for open recruitment for facility attendant 1 and 2, and request for council to approve the 2 job descriptions for existing classifications. That's for the recreation assistant and recreation aide, and that'll be reviewed on consent on February 1st. COVID impact update to our team. Staff unfortunately have been hit by COVID. So the last 2 weeks, we did not have the front lobby open for services. We did have our regular programming inside. We had seniors in balance and a bridge group. But our large groups, the Lions and the women's clubs, they canceled most of their activities through the month on the side of precaution. And we did have the ability for our tennis key holders to knock on the side door during limited hours, because we usually had at least 1 staff in the side office to be able to administer keys. And just as a heads up out there, if you're having feedback from key holders that are having a challenge, ask them to be patient with us as they pick up their keys. We are reopened this week pending our returning staff. Hopefully we don't have anybody going out, but I think most people have been out, so they should be on the mend and back in unless we get another variant coming through. But we did have a challenge with our keys our locks that were changed. So our locks were changed the first week in January, and it looked like some of the keys that we had received from the company didn't get fully cut. So we're getting a lot of people, unfortunately, having to come back and visit us again and getting a second key. So please extend our apologies to anybody that might express their frustration or concern with that. We are doing our best to make it as easy as possible for people to pick up the correct key. Update on redevelopment of the Memorial Bench program. Unfortunately, I am waiting for some collaboration efforts with Public Works to make sure that we identify an average cost for site preparation, and then I'll be able to bring the commission a revitalized Memorial Bench program. And the memorial benches will align nicely with some of the priority investment ratings that we received from the assessment on people wanting to have more benches to be able to sit at throughout the parks. So the key things that we're looking to revitalize that program, having an average cost so that it's not going to a specific site and saying, okay, now determining how much staff time and equipment and everything else. We have a set price. We have a set bench that's going to be able to be ordered, and hopefully also through Public Works, they can identify locations that can be easily installed benches. So somebody can come in, say, I want a bench at site A, and that's the cost. And now we'll come to the commission, have them review the plaque, for the memorial part of it, and then we can go forward. So hopefully it'll be able to streamline that process once we're able to get it up and running. But again, on hold until we're able to communicate some collaboration with Public Works. Update on budgeting and mid-year adjustments were presented to council on January 8th. And I think we'll go through that in the commission update from council coverage. Update on the master fee schedule. Council's to review and consider approval of park recreation fee schedule at their February 1st meeting. That was the meeting that we discussed in the fall, and then we made the final revised recommendations at the special meeting in December. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ashley. Does anyone have any questions about any of that? All right. Moving on to commissioner reports. Emily C., do you want to discuss your town council meetings?
Sure. So I attended the December 7th, which is, although technically a few weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, I'm fairly confident it was more like 60 years ago. It was a shorter meeting. There was thanks given to the now former mayor, followed by a vote for new mayor and vice mayor. There were also 2 compensation items from the prior month that were on calendar simply because they were 2 meeting items. So there was no staff report, but both passed. There was some salary adjustments in accordance with CalPERS and some other compensation related matters. The discussion then turned to the PG&E undergrounding, and there was a plea for public comment. The town manager also discussed, of course, the new COVID variant, and that's maybe why I think this was 60 years ago, because much has changed since then. But I think this still resonates, that he confirmed that meetings, there was still sort of a hope and intention that meetings would be able to be in person moving forward, but in any event, they would be in person and Zoom whenever in person was appropriate. There was discussion about legislative updates. There is definitely a trend towards removing local control with respect to environmental considerations and planning for sea level rising, expansion of indoor and outdoor rules to account for the pandemic. And so just sort of a robust conversation about that general shift and a need to be in lockstep with the state regulations, because they were coming regardless of whether we wanted them or not. And finally, the council turned to wildfire protection. The new website is off to a good start, and the chipper program generated a lot of material and was going to be coming back. I don't know if there's any questions about that December 7th rundown. All right, move to December 21st. So in contrast, this was a very long meeting. There were no presentations, but there were a lot of public comments. They ranged from PG&E survey, nuclear power plants, getting off gas, redistricting that resulted in Corte Madera and Larkspur being in different locations or being accounted for differently. But then of some importance, I think, to this commission, although a little bit belated now, council received an email comment regarding artificial turf. The author of that communication was asking for the upcoming January meetings to be taken off calendar. And so I think maybe appropriate at this time, a little deviation from an update is just a reminder that because town council meetings are not necessarily timed up with actions that this particular commission is addressing, that public participation and engagement in our meetings themselves is obviously encouraged and invited, because my update on this is after the fact. So the author again was upset that the master plan apparently had not been done in a timeline. There was some timing considerations. I understand that letter is available then publicly as part of comment, but the letter reading was cut off as the 3-minute time limit had expired. The town council moved then to amending C3 zoning codes, which include vet hospitals, apparently, and some interesting historical information. It was interesting to learn that vet hospitals were carved out specifically of C3 zoning, whereas other medical services are permitted in that area. So the zoning amendment passed. The town council then moved to the annual independent audit report for the fiscal year ending just this last June 30th. It showed that there are no issues, that Corte Madera is in good shape. And so regardless of what the state might throw at the town, the council felt we were in a good place. They moved to, and their after did adopt the audit report. There's a little sidebar where the sanitary district met and then council returned and turned to Climate Action Committee. That committee reported back explaining that it had taken longer than the 12 months for which the temporary committee had been created to report back, but explaining all of the actions and proposals that they had. The recommendation was to formalize the Climate Action Committee with a 5 to 7 member group for 2-year terms, and that committee would serve as an advisory role to the council. The first act staff recommended would be to hire a consultant to work with the committee, and it's already apparently in the budget. That also passed. Finally, and I apologize if I'm speed talking, Senate Bill 9 was discussed, and that is a housing legislation which allows homeowners within a single family residence zoning district to build up to 2 additional housing units on their existing lot, or to split their single family lot into 2 separate parcels. And so that was presented to the council. I should note that that was a highly abbreviated and oversimplified simplification of the bill, but I wanted to offer sort of the gist. The council was then asked if they wanted to respond to this bill, which went into effect now on January 1st. The council elected to pass an emergency ordinance in order to review the impacts of the bill before it went into effect, in essence, to sort of get ahead of it. And then finally, I guess the council reorganizes each year and reviews appointments. The only changes were Eli Beckman council members Beckman and Mongan agreed to handle appointment interviews thereafter. And that's it. If anybody has questions, happy to hear them. And I apologize that my cat is screaming in the background.
That's okay. Thank you. That was very thorough. Appreciate that. And Shannon, do you want to go? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off anyone. Did anyone have any questions for Emily? All right. Shannon, did you listen in on the January 18th meeting?
I did. So there was not a lot of information, particularly focused on Parks and Rec in the January meeting. Briefly, they did speak about the Senate Bill 9 that Emily mentioned regarding the dividing one's property lot, and they had a lot of discussion regarding construction of town hall. Again, stuff that wasn't particularly privy for our group tonight, but there was some public comment regarding the turf from someone strongly opposing it, who did make some broad concerns regarding the commission and the Parks and Rec Department and the town misusing taxpayers' money, requesting the town to hire for an independent investigation of such. So it's quite, impassioned. One of the biggest issues highlighted from this speaker was regarding that the turf itself was not one of the noted highest priorities from the survey. And I think this was similar to some of the comments made in the public gatherings that we had for feedback. So I think it's just resonating in when there is this opportunity. But what was nice to hear is that, in contrast, one of the former members of this commission did speak sort of on behalf of the department and the commission, stating how the process was meaning to work and that there were still further steps to be taken and no specific plan was made. And then lastly, the council member Lee did speak about the community feedback engagements that were had and wanted to sort of share praise with our commission for the method in which those were created, how they were proceeding, that he felt they were very well received by the community. And that's it.
Well, that's nice to hear. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Any questions for Shannon? Okay. Executive Advisory Committee, we did meet on January 18th, just primarily to talk about the agenda and sort of the timeline for the master plan process. Did any of the other subcommittee groups meet? Programming?
We did. I'll speak for us. We actually met several times this month. Independently, the 3 of us met to sort of just connect regarding priorities and sort of in helping to better define how we can be the most efficient and helpful and effective for Ashley and the staff and at the department. I then later met with Ashley and Tim and had a really great discussion about that. And, we just put the question out there, what can we do, and how, rather than circling around each other or creating busy work for anyone, we want to just contribute. So there felt like some good feedback from Ashley and Tim regarding us being able to really be liaisons between the community and the commission and the department. And we discussed some of the big priorities that were reviewed from the survey, specifically like the food truck events, cultural events, had a good discussion about maybe ideas regarding age groups that we're not having an easy time targeting right now, such as adolescents or preteen. So, we are certainly, Alina and Sarah and I want to contribute, want to help, and work closely with Ashley and the rest of the department to further enhance the robust programming that we have.
Great, thank you for that. Our community engagement group did not meet. I know we've mainly been focused, everyone's been focused on the outreach and the master plan process. And do any other commissioners have individual updates that they wanted to share?
Just quickly on kind of observations around the park. There continue to be dogs off leash kind of pretty blatantly in the park. I saw no less than 3 within like a 30-minute period on Sunday afternoon. So I don't know if we still have resources that are continuing to do that. And the vandalism seems to have spread to the porta potties. It is not just the permanent facilities that are getting decorated. So just wanted to share that.
Rebecca?
Thank you, Chair Janowski. I just wanted to pipe up with, of course, Ashley and I will let our code enforcement team know about that, but you're welcome to call staff anytime you happen to notice that when you're out and about, and our code enforcement team, if resources are available, we'll go and check out the concerns, and our public works team can get the vandalism taken care of and painted over or removed or whatever it is that they're able to do if resources are available throughout the day. So just let us know anytime, and we're happy to send the appropriate staff out to take care of that.
Thanks.
Actually, on that note, this morning when dropping my kids off at school, we go by Cafe Verde and park there. And I noticed that code enforcement was there encouraging folks not to just slow down and drop. It's not a drive through, you either park or not. And I hadn't seen that before. And I was...
There have been complaints about blocking of the red zones,
Yeah.
and where people will park in the red zones and run on the campus, and then vehicles can't turn around in that short turning radius. So they were enforcing the red zone today.
That's good.
Anyone else?
Before we move on from updates, just to make a clarification regarding the next steps and future conversations about public comment for council. So we had the question and request for how Corte Madera FC members or other members in the community can either voice support or for or against some of the topics that have come from the master plan, or comments on my the general report, annual report. My comment related to no public comment at the council meeting is that because those 2 items are on topic, please don't use the open comment at the beginning of the meeting. Please wait until the presentations are delivered. And then of course we have the opportunity for public comment on those topics. Just wanted to make sure that they are lined up with the right timing for the council meeting to show support or comment for those topics.
Great, thanks for clarifying that, Ashley. That's a good point. All right. Number 8, routine and other matters. 8A is discussion of potential future agenda items. For February 28th, we'll be talking about the digital marquee policies and also the memorial bench program. If there are other items on that you want to see on the agenda, you can always let me or Louise or Ashley know. And I think I lost a page. I think that that's our last item on our agenda. Is that
I
right?
think maybe just go over a reminder for the items for yearly review for February. It's typically the capital improvement update from Parks, the Public Works Director. And then typically we schedule the commission's strategic planning and goals, but that might be adjusted based on where we are for the master plan engagement. We'll have to wait for the subcommittee to really be able to have time to evaluate some of those priorities and discuss that with the commission, I think, before we have that title of topic on February. So it may or may not be able to be discussed next meeting. And then maybe you want to do just a reminder of assignments of who's attending council for February.
I would love to do that. I do have one question. Is RJ going to be available to give us a presentation in February?
I don't know. I'm going to be checking in with him. I know that Public Works is still shorthanded, so I might be delivering a summarized version for them,
Okay.
just identifying some of the outlining projects. Just gives a sense of what's going on in the community as far as our capital improvements and infrastructure planning. I'm sure everybody is aware of everything that's going on with Public Works, but it's nice to hear some of the smaller projects as well, in addition to the town hall move and rebuild. And as far as the assignments, if you weren't able to flip to it, it's Commissioner Phipps who's on for
Thank you.
February.
Thank you for saving me. I didn't have that page
Welcome.
printed out.
No problem. And the next meeting is regular scheduled meeting is for February 28th.
Excellent. Thank you for helping me with that one. And with that, 7:52, I think we can adjourn our meeting. Thank you so much, everybody.
We actually have a raised hand.
Oh,
Sorry to delay the adjournment, but it must be on one of the items that we just breezed through. So if it's okay with the chair, I will.
Of course,
unmute.
David, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't ask for public comment, but go ahead.
That's perfectly fine. On the digital marquee, I presume we're talking about the reader board in front of the community center. And here's my comment. I've become much more aware of the bay side of Corte Madera. And it seems to me, if it is at all possible, sometime in the future, for there to be something similar on the bay side of Corte Madera to alert that side of Corte Madera to issues that are coming up, it would be great. I mean, I know that this is not going to happen anytime soon, and it'll be a town council decision, and there'll be a lot of research into where that could be located. But we've always loved being able to drive up Tamalpais Drive and see, the announcements that are on the digital marquee in front of the community center. And the bay side of Corte Madera does not have that advantage. They don't see any of the stuff that we see if we live on the Chapman Park Christmas Tree hillside. So I just plant that seed that sometime possibly we can find an appropriate place on the bay side where virtually half of the community drives to their homes and they can get the same digital readout that we on the west side do. And with that, thank you for the evening. Thanks.
Thank you for that feedback. All right. I think now we can officially adjourn.
7:54.
All right, 7:54. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
bye.
Thanks.